This is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. We infuse, we energize, we inspire, and we empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes in BW and beyond. Hello, Dumela. Welcome once again to another episode of Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. Always a pleasure. I'm your host, Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I've been doing this now. It's year number 5. It's exciting. It's never ceases to amaze me. The quality of guests and the entrepreneurs that we have here in this country and across Southern Africa and the world indeed, who take the time to visit with us. Today, we're going to talk about social media branding. We're going to talk about brand amplification. We're going to talk about public relations and things of that nature. And I have just the right guest for you, Mr. Henny Maruapula. And I'll let him introduce himself in greater detail. But before we start our conversation, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Please, just strike that notification bell, but more importantly, that subscribe button. We need to cope with these algorithms, guys. I know I keep saying this, and I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but it's very important if we are going to be able to even bring a higher quality type of guest or top quality guests. We need to show the numbers. Some guests will not come to your podcast until and unless the numbers are of a certain level. So please help us. Just strike that subscribe button, please. And let me welcome you, Henny. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Mogobe. How are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Welcome. Yeah. And we met at the expo. It was the
Build Environment Expo last week. Yeah.
Yes. We're going to touch on that, but for now, please let the viewers know a bit more about your background and what you do.
All right. Hi, listeners of Mogobe Podcast of Nuggets of Wisdom. My name is Henny Maruapula. It's my full name. People think that it's short for something else, but it's actually my full name. So it's Henny Maruapula. I do social media marketing and management. I do brand amplification. I do media and public relations, as well as business profiling and listing. Yes, so that's what I do. Academically, I have a degree in multimedia, which is your various ways of communicating, be it TV, radio, print, advertising, and all that, as well as a degree in corporate communication, which is your public speaking or ways of delivering a message across. So the things that I'm doing at the moment are quite in line with what I studied academically. So it's an extension of myself from academia to now the theory and practical part.
Which institutions did you go to, and how was the experience?
It was quite nice. My first degree, I went to Malaysia at Lim. I was only 15 years, doing my first year in Malaysia. Then from there, I finished in Malaysia, and then I went to do my second degree at corporate communication in Port Elizabeth, which was the Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. I think they now changed their name. Yeah. So in terms of expertise and experience, I've lived in Asia, I've lived in South Africa, so I'm quite cross-cultured in that respect.
Okay. Yeah. How did South Africa compare with Malaysia?
In South Africa, you have to, the crime rates are a bit high, and also in terms of technological advancements, Asia is one of the leading frontiers in terms of technology. So you find that some things, so it's a matter of just adapting and trying to cope with the surroundings, Yeah.
Where do you think the original interest in media started, especially social media, marketing, etc.?
I think my interest started from a young age. I was one person who listened to a lot of radio, a lot of TV, and one of my childhood dreams was to basically be maybe a TV presenter or radio presenter, because I believe that from a young age I was very argumentative. People thought I was going to be a lawyer or something like that, because they started debate. So I think speaking and trying to express myself came from a very young age. So in terms of just trying to now focus on it and channel my energies to a better thing, I think that media was the right platform for me, because that's where I found myself ultimately. And then turning it into a business was something which came at a later stage, because you know when you are young, for limelight, monetize your brand or trying to get money for what you are doing. So you know, at a later stage, I realized, monetize in that way. Yeah, yeah.
One of the other areas, public relations.
Yes.
What exactly does that mean?
Public relations, public like Sechaba or a platform it's open. So public relations is more or less like kind of relationship is like communicating and receiving, listening and talking. So it's a back and forth kind of activity. So it's trying to give informative messages, which is communicating. Kind of communication is a organized form of speaking. And then,
it is.
Yeah, it is. So it's in terms of communication. It's also taking care of their feelings, so it's a lot of many things which encompasses a person, and it's how to look at it's something which you harness when you are growing. You get to finesse it, and you know, ultimately you'll be one of the leading practitioners.
Okay. So where have you worked before you started on your own?
No, I worked at a couple of companies. You know, previously I was once a business development executive for a billboard company. I was marketing officer for a courier company. I was also technically programming for a TV station. So you find that, you see, I've worked courier company, advertising agency, TV station, you know, consultancy firm. So I've encompassed my diverse roles in these departments, you know. Like if you see, I said business development, I said marketing, transmission controlling, graphic designer. So I'm quite diverse in the fields of media, be it your TV, your radio, your advertising, your physical, your print media, you know. And I've also contributed a lot of articles to newspapers, because I also love writing. Because when you think of something, no one can, just like you as a writer, you know, you express your feelings on your book because you wanted people to know your story.
Yes.
Unlike, but if it's a book, this is the story.
It's a permanent record.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then in terms of these corporates that you worked for, what impact did they have in terms of what influence they had in you now starting your own?
Yeah, I think when you work for various people, you learn to be tolerant. That's one. You learn to know that there are different ways of dealing with a situation. So I think one of the reasons why I left my formal employment per se, I would say, I don't think I was meant to be an 8-to-5 person myself, you know. I think
8 to 5, yeah.
I think I was meant to be more of an entrepreneur or someone who's outgoing. I don't see myself sitting behind a desk for 8 hours and saying, you know. I feel I should be there in the field, exploring different avenues. One thing as a creative or as an individual, I get bored easily. If I'm just on a desk, I tend to get bored. I want to have various facets in my day-to-day activities. You know, I'm here on the podcast now. I can be on TV later. I can be there later. So I think the personality I have to be outgoing.
You like variety, ne?
Yeah, variety.
And now let's talk about the name of your company itself. What is it called?
Yeah, my company is not my name is Henny Maruapula, so I have a company called HM Holdings. But you know, because of the financial constraints, kind of just trying to think outside the box, it's not really fully registered, but it's who I am, because kana moto brand ka buena. So in terms of my services, I offer them as my brand, because I believe brand ka buena.
So you sole proprietorship.
Yes,
okay.
Because sometimes you find that when you have a company as yourself, you tend to do things specifically according to how you want to do them. For example, so you need to be there on your own. And because now brand, you also have a stranglehold or a better feel of what is happening, because the tailor make according to you like a forced to work with on your own. That's one of the reasons why also I feel that I was not meant to work for anybody, because I want to be the one who
you want to call the shots.
Yes, because sometimes you find that when I was in a particular company, so you find that now it's like I'm the owner of the company, because I tailor make or specific customize that service because of my attributes and my nature. Just who I am. So I'm one person who I give the best of my ability to a particular client. So a client don't have that relationship a kind of service.
Yeah. And of course, people struggle with the word brand and branding.
Yeah.
Can we just deal with definitions, or working definitions before we go deeper.
Yeah, a brand is something which you see and you're like, this is what it stands for. Then a brand, it has more, it's multifaceted. A brand is how you feel about something. It's how you perceive something. It's how something is shown to the public. Well, but for example, Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast, what do you think about it? They should think of warmness. They should think of authenticity. They should think of entrepreneurship. God, what is the feeling around that particular thing? That's brand. Branding is more or less like branding is the elements of typography, like the font used, the colors you used, the message you want to put across. That's branding. Branding and advertising are totally they're symbiotic, but they're different. The branding is how you want things to be seen and noticed by the public using different aspects of typography, the colors, the mood. But for how you want them to remember you by? Do you want them to remember you as a man?
So is branding then perception management?
Yes, that's why it's also important to have some bit of emotional intelligence when you are dealing with branding kana ole motho wa creative industry, because how na emotional intelligence o tla go khuposega motho kana o sa khone go itshwara ha motho a bua yana ka brand ba go mme a sa itse gore wena wa ka ntseng kana ya.
All right, one of the things you want us to discuss is working with brands.
Exactly.
What do you have to share there?
Yeah, previously I worked with a couple of brands. I worked with one brand in the car industry. I worked with a brand in the TV industry. I worked with a brand in the internet services industry. You see that these are three different aspects. So one is a car industry. So car industry, what happens? They're selling a car. So how do they want the car to make you feel? Kana batla go tsena mo showroom o feel gore o mo place e ntsenya a tlo go reka koloi e cheap a tlo go reka e turang. Is there that kind of customer retention? How ke reka koloi, will you give me the good service after ha ka senyega? Internet service provider, internet sa bereke, how are you going to answer the queries out as go reply but within a certain period of time? TV company, signal age amapula ena ba raba touring. So this is all relationship management, and it's trying to be a bridge between you and the brand. So my work involved working with brands, brand botenko bago publicing. How do you do information dissemination to the public? How do you roll them out? How do you get the buy-in from them? Oba bola lang gore company a go gaisa the other company. Mo sa ba now. How do you try and position your company to be able to be the first one in mind? How much that particular product? How much about they should be the first one to think of you. How much about internet? How much about TV? So it's about the mindset of an individual. We tuna young, we place your brand young, best positioned to attract the audience. And it involves many things. There's a rollout phase, initial phase, what about receptive to it. In chama marketing, that's one. How do you then turn around and say, may this what you require? So you need to have an education kind of thing. So working with brands involves doing work, groundwork, doing work, research, doing work in terms of how will the public perceive it. The research we your questionnaires, can I just throw something on social media? How do you feel about this? Do you know what this is coming? There are many ways in which you go about it. So that's what I meant by working with brands. Because also the brand you're like a custodian. How about manya brand? Because you're the one representing the brand. Exactly. So they will come to you and say, hey, Nikana TV hybrid. When you have to find ways to say, me will get back to you, you'll find answers. So you're like the bridge between the brand and the public.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, speaking also about the brand itself, there's a tendency to confuse branding and marketing.
Yeah.
Are there distinctions?
No, I think they go hand in hand, because anything that you do, there has to be a bit of marketing. Kind of marketing, but marketing has different acumens. You could market with word of mouth, you could market with a campaign, you could market a story highlight. So there are different aspects which you use. But like I said earlier, marketer brand thing. For example, if your brand is Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom and your colors are blue, so when you go and market, you're going to use maybe blue colors and black because of your brand airline and those colors. You can't go and market Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom or maybe green or red because it doesn't go align with your brand strategy. So,
the brand identity.
Brand identity. So it's one of those things you have to be aware of, Yeah.
Now, you've been in this space now for a total of how many years?
The marketing space, I would say because from a young age we have a family business, so I've been involved in business from a young age in terms of we have a lodge and a consultancy. So I used to go around with my dad trying to see how to leverage or what he does, So as a guy or as a boy child, you pick up some of these things from your father because I got about market, so you learn indirectly. Why so you learn different aspects of trying to get business through that. So marketing has been something which has been in me for a long time because of the family business. But I would say I've been doing it for the past 6 or 7 years because get full time. Besides, because my last formal job was about 7 or 6 years back. Yeah.
So you've been on your own for 7 years.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, where are we? Are we getting it right or are we getting it wrong as Botswana in terms of understanding branding?
Yeah, branding is one thing which goes in hand in hand with like your social media marketing or your influencing, because when it all started, back then. But when I put marketing, why should we pay you this to do this, Because they don't understand for marketing is like placing something on a space to talk to the public. It's a vehicle which you use to sell. For example, you can go to a paper advert, they will run the advert. You can go to TV or sale. Or you can come to me and I do that on your behalf, because many people think that they can actually market or they can actually do branding. But just more social media about poster what's our marketing that it's not really that, because there are many aspects you have to use. There's language aspect, there's audience aspect, there's what kind of imagery you use, what kind of posters you use. So there's many more aspects to that. So you 1, 2, 3, 4 because you target the right audience, you have to have the right category of people who are engaging with your page, so there are many different aspects. That's why it's important to have the right kind of brand ambassador or the right kind of influencer for your particular brand.
And there's a thing called social media etiquette. What is that?
Etiquette kana go tama itsharo a motho back in the days no go ta go te dinner etiquette gore ha o jeka tipa le foroko na mo left thing
yes so
etiquette ke maitshwaro kana how you have to treat something. Social media etiquette is more or less like Oscar Rogabato, Oscar now offensive, Oscar post images they hatlang, or responded to moto young. For example, you find that many nowadays people jump to social media when there's a complaint. Hands. How much complaint do post on social media? But it's up to the company or individual yourself or okay, I can respond, can I statement, can I respond, can I kirayana using my good relaying. That's why I said earlier you also need to have a bit of emotional intelligence. Because how man. Because you have to find ways in which you have to be now play with the emotions and say, okay, I'll revert back to you within a day or so. This is the way forward if you have any inquiry or query. So that's etiquette. We social media, because etiquette in social media can go a long way, because nowadays there's what you call social media trail and social media footprints. So when you want a job or when you want to do something, Google okay, we really want 2, 3, 4 about blacklist hire engage because of your social media trail. So I tell customer dispute post social media. So you have to be aware of those kind of aspects.
Okay. Yeah. Is there an ideal way of behaving on social media in terms of the frequency of posting and the type of content you should be posting? Let's take an example of a company such as ours. I'll just talk at random about the property company, for instance. Can you speak to that and use us as a sort of a case study to explain how it works?
Okay. For example, let's say a property company. That means your mandate is selling property. So the messaging has to be mantlu. Primarily, that's what your messaging is, mantlu. Then what happens? That's your core market. Now you have to speak to people. They want rental, buying. Then from there, what type of market are you targeting? Low, middle, or high? So saying, hello, you want to target high class, you market your high costs. Hello, low class, maybe your 2 bedrooms or whatever. Then what happens? Who is primarily your main target audience? Like what then you target those. Then in terms of frequency, how often do you want your houses to be let? Per month. So you find that you can post 1 or 2, maybe 2 posts a month for that particular house, because why post up first week what's our by kgwedi headle maybe by one maybe ha kgwedi ha le gore motho wa go batla ntlo kgwedi hela ha kgwedi hela ba le gore mo maybe ma move. So you have to look at those dynamics, and then from there what happens, you want to also be an educator. So what okay, we're a property and management company, but we deal with so you also give extra value or added value. When how much engage, what are they going to benefit or how are they going to feel by engaging you? Then also you have to say, okay, we're the leading. Go to the authenticity. So hey, maybe they're not that doing. You want to become like a chancer, but you know what you are doing. So we are qualified. We are timely, we are courteous. You use all these superlatives. We pay in a better light.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting. So you then what would be your role if somebody calls you to their company? How do you go about it?
Yes, I go about by researching what the company is about. That's one, and then also in terms of your target audience and also what kind of messaging you want to portray, because sometimes they say too much of something spoils the broth. You find that people overpost or overshare. You don't want to be forgotten. You have to have a balance. So there's a bridge which you have to use. That's why sometimes it's also important, even if you're a company, you find that company, they also have more appeal because a big company. So for example, if you talk about your property company, property company, so you find that these are dynamics which you play with someone's head and the emotions. Because Remogo is a real estate person, property, so he's well versed. Henny Maruapula because he's does social media marketing. Company high fake. So you find that you play around with this kind of dynamics to try and stamp of approval.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to charging or working out how to charge, a lot of people are confused as to what goes into the process of deciding what to bill a client.
Yeah.
Are you able to comment on that?
Yeah, I can comment. There's sometimes whereby I've just said no to a client because I told them they undervalue my services. This amount. And I'm like, but can pampering make once a week? Now I can change my post regularly because social media you can edit, you can upload every day. Pampering once a week. So are you going to say you rather have your advert pampering every Wednesday, Monday or Friday, on my page whereby I can edit today, comes like a poster, comes like engage. So you find that you have to make sure that you justify your price. And if they don't agree to that, you just tell them, hey, unfortunately, it's not my worth. I have 10 many clients a week, but I can't do this for this much because you undervalue my services. And you have to be, when you're in this space, you have to be very consistent. You have to know your worth and how to or say anything which you don't feel is worth your value, because once you do that, so you find that justifying your price or why you charge that much is something which I do on a regular, and I make my clients understand why I charge that much. And one of the things which I also try and do on a daily is to try and I'll rather under promise you and over deliver, as opposed to over promising and under delivering. I'll rather tell you, okay, I'll have one article on Pampiri, but then I'll have 4. Instead of saying, I have 4 articles, one. So I try to make sure that I go over and above what I have promised the client. And that also shows buy-in. Hey, I don't 4. So they can, word of mouth will go, hey, why can you, how more than what he had said he would do. Yeah.
So it's under promise and over deliver.
That's my motto.
Oh, wow. I like that. I like that. Now, let's talk a little bit about your experience working with authors. I'm an author myself.
Yeah.
What advice can you give authors, and what experiences have you had interacting with authors?
That one is it's one niche which I found myself in. I don't know how I did that, but in the past 3 years or so, I've worked with about 9 authors. And on different books. I've worked with, for example, if I can name them if you don't mind, I've worked with Fia Khamon, her Rap Diamond book. I've worked with another lady, Kotonota, on her book. It's called Mami Roller Coaster. I've worked with another lady on her book. It's called Threads of Broken Bonds. I've worked with another guy, It Never Rains But It Pours. I've worked with another lady on her book, The Anointed Made in Stilettos,
The Anointed?
Made in Stilettos. So you see the diverse range of books I've worked with. And all these authors, they bring a different story. And I think it also helps build me and develop me in terms of my writing abilities or how to do book reviews, because I do a lot of book reviews. If you check on my social medias, I have done about 9 book reviews for all these authors that I've listed in the past 3 years or so. And book review kana obala buka obo we analyze o bua gore book so that ha motho ha batla go itse ka yone as a tidbit or synopsis of your book,
You have to do that for mine.
Definitely, from here I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So in terms of book reviews, Ghana is profiling the author. Okay, that's one. Then number 2, the book but also in detail. But you have to be clever in terms of how you review it, because what capture the reader. Book review, and then you also have to find out what do you want the reader to feel. I put myself in a reader's shoes. So for example, your nuggets of grit, Mogobe nuggets of grit. Your story from how you are a young farmer, how you matured at 10 years old, up to having a million pool at age of 30, for example. That's you again. And then you want to know how you did that journey, what motivated you, what challenges did you encompass, why did you want to have your story shared? No Kenyan thing. How do you manage to keep afloat? How do you manage to keep grounded? How do you manage to keep big-headed, because you're rightly up there in terms of your entrepreneurs in Botswana. So these different authors, it's me telling that story to the world and saying, and all these books, the essence, or some of them, you find that there are books of motivation for even though there are challenges in life, but you still overcome your challenges. They don't maybe because some are memoirs. Yours is more like a memoir. A memoir is more like your story. But they don't fiction. Maybe I imagine, like there's some books whereby revealing where it's a true story, merely the imagination. So you find that Botswana authors are very gifted. They can think. It's not everyone who can think. They can think beyond the normal. And when you think and you portray your story on a book, beyond. Imagine how a book over 100 pages. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me glued to your thing. So in terms of working with authors, it's a thing which I've developed, and I think in Botswana right now I'm the go-to guy for book reviews.
Wow.
Because if you just look at my track record, you can also book reviews. Who pushed that book for that launch, whatever. Find that it's me, Even when your book was launched, I actually approached you, but I think you're quite busy at that time. You can also I can do your book launch, I can do your book review. Something which we can discuss after this. But in terms of just working with authors, it develops me as a person, because I have different stories to share, and it also helps my writing style,
Yeah. And this is what I want to understand. How have you been able to help these authors translate their writing into sales?
Yes.
In other words, live off their work.
Yeah. That's what I was getting to, because book has not way you some will launch it. We launch a so with authors, you find that we'll do the book launch, and then after the book launch we'll do a signing session. A signing session with to Henny Maruapula what Mogobe. That's something. It's that affection. It's personalized copy. So in terms of book launches, book launch ticket, that's how they can make money as well. Book available, then from there book is available on sale at this amount, so buy a record. Then also trying to help authors place their book in bookshops. That's also what I help them with.
Putting it in exclusive books.
Yeah, exclusive books, or Botswana Book Center, or Bala Books, whichever bookshop they would want to do, because they take
all of them, really.
Yeah, because some they take more commission than others. And then also in terms of your online stores, your Amazon, there are some local online stores as well. And then also in terms of physical copies, email, so trying to monetize their work is trying to get the book out there. And also book tours, this other lady I'm working with right now, she's planning a book tour around the country, because Ghana we don't want to only focus on Gaborone, but what about your story so you need to go to them, launch a book autograph.
That's something you do.
Yeah, I organize all that.
You have to do it for us.
Yeah, book tours we can do that around the country.
Yeah. and how do you identify the author and determine this is the right one to work with?
Hey, I'm one person who's very proactive. Most of my clients, I reach out to them. I try and be proactive. Like, or knock on one door, I knock again, I knock. For example, I'll give you a good idea. I've long talked to you like maybe last year, but they on this podcast. Yeah. So I'm one person who's very proactive, and I try and keep pushing. Yeah. So I find that authors, I do a lot of research. I see what that story is about, and I feel if that story connects with me, because how it's about connection. If you give another story connect, then I'll reach out to them. Hey, I do 1, 2, 3, 4. Can I do this for your book? And most of them, I get a positive response because they've seen my track record. They can give 1, 2, 3, 4. So your track record speaks for yourself, and also because
yeah. There's a slander that sometimes is uttered by some people to say, if you want to hide something from a black man, you put it in a book.
Yeah.
Suggesting that we don't read. Yeah. How is the culture of reading in Botswana? Has it improved in any way, or is this just a slanderous statement?
Botswana barta go bala, but the thing is barta go bala the can't maybe they are, how do I put it, tabloid kind of news, because I'll give you a very good idea. If you go anywhere in Botswana, you find on Facebook, but your book hard copy maybe for like 3 or 4 hours. So I think
yet Facebook 4 hours is
exactly. Happy more is in different scrolling. Until whereas book 4 hours so headies. So I think one of the things which I identified authors as a key principle in my business, I'm trying to also encourage because if I do a book review, I can book 93 pages, 100 pages. I can book it 4 hours way bad. Feel that type of way, because reading it improves your vocabulary, it improves your grammar, it improves your way of looking at things differently, because
reading your bottom line as well.
Reading is knowledge. How bala wahanya same. Differently. So I'm trying to also encourage through my book reviews, because I don't want to do something I want to also build a legacy, build something through his book reviews. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, the challenges you face having to do with social media marketing and being a management executive and doing what you do. What are the challenges?
Challenges are that people think that social media personalities or people who do social media, they don't have feelings. But I think one of the key lessons I've learned from a young age is restraint. Just let it go, be the bigger person, because silence is golden. So you find that sometimes there are many perceptions, or there are many people think of you in a certain kind of way, but it's their own way of thinking about you. You don't have to go with that. So when you just have to know your path and just try and stick to your guns. Another thing is that people tend to have their sort of like favorites, how whatever picture idea, just because maybe we Henny or pitch some to say about me there are some certain I don't know if it's like they perceive in a certain type of way. So it's about also trying to say, no, don't cover us in the same kind of cloth. Just because so it's also about trying to build and educate, because one of the things I try to do is to also educate and try and build my clients. We have different ways of doing.
Can you give an example of an incident where you felt that you were not taken properly, or you're not dealt with properly?
No, you find that like, for example, you find that Botswana is a very small country, so you know who's doing what or who's doing what. So it's okay, get an idea, maybe keep it to Mogobe, and then maybe another person I picture the same idea, and then from there how you don't talk to me at a later stage. Then why would you pick that person? Okay, another way of doing their own things, but that way it's a matter of you find that people have this perception that using the same people can use them because they are affiliated to so and so whatever. So some people use affiliations in terms of trying to disqualify you for your good worth. How because maybe we're not standalone. Because sometimes when you try and have your own niche, people think that you're alienating the world.
But as long as they're not abusing your work,
Yes.
They choose whoever they choose, or do they do it in such a way that it's abusive?
Yeah, you find that sometimes it can be abusive in terms of they would even go out and say, because of 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes it's like just rather just do it quietly about as opposed to like maybe publicly saying maybe moto. So there's some challenges, but I mean in life I've realized to have like a thick skin per se, because how you don't have to really care what the world thinks about you, as long as you know your mission and why you're on this earth and your goals. Just go with that, because I mean how it's about having perseverance, it's about having the energy and the
grit.
Yeah, the grit, you see. It's about having because you rather want to grow organically than grow with connections. So how you find that connections, they cut along the way. So how it's about building yourself, because at the end of the day, I built you to become this. You build me from what? I made my own person by being proactive, going out, being tenacious and all that.
Yeah.
So it's about some of those things where you know your worth, and you rather have small steps and grow gradually, unlike have big steps. Yeah.
Is this a regulated industry? Social media executives and marketing?
No, it's not really regulated, because it's very tricky, because we charges That's why I said earlier, I'm not part of the same services, but maybe early underpriced because of a job or desperate. That's why I said sometimes I tell my clients, I can't charge you this much because you are undervaluing my work or you are undermining my services. So how regulate it? Because I want a structure how did I book it or charge and it's up to justify your price. I'll just give you an example. Sometimes because I also deal with a lot of MCs, and a lot of because I also used to manage people, like maybe manage a brand. So for example, the bole speaker, the kids who charge maybe X amount, but then client time we can't take him because we are too cheap for the same expertise. Just because there's no regulatory or saying if you are a profile speaker or charge if you are a motivation speaker or charge there is no that blueprint,
no regulation.
Yeah, so which is about. But I think with the Arts Council, it's one of those things which they're trying to regulate.
What is it the Arts Council doing?
The Arts Council, well, I don't really know what it's doing, but I mean, its mandate is going to regulate the arts industry, the creative sector, like maybe the body, but it's going to they're trying to regulate the.
And how far are they with that?
There was once a board, but then the board, they have expertise in that field. So it's a lot of things,
So it hasn't taken off.
It was launched, but then I don't think that it's actually implementing at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to define a macro amplifier and influencer, and then define a micro amplifier and influencer, and let's compare and contrast the two.
Yeah, it's about the conversion rate. Let me put it that way. I'll just give an example. Let's say you have 10 followers. And your mandate is to try and have buy-in or to sell something. I get. Then a will post that can market that particular product. And from your 10 buyers, from your 10 followers, 7 buy. I get. So that means 7 out of 10 people have bought your product or whatever. That's 70% conversion rate. I get. You have 10 or 7. Then let's say you have 100 followers, right? And then only 10 people buy out of 100 followers. So that's what? 10%. I get. So now you have one with 100, one with 10. 100 followers, 10. 10 followers, 7. So if you do the analysis, which one has a higher conversion rate?
This
7
one.
over 10.
Yeah.
I get. May from a layman's perspective, only with about 10, 100. Who has the larger numbers? 100. But the conversion rate or the return on investment, which is higher, the one with 10. So the 10 followers, that's a micro influencer because he has small numbers but higher conversion rate. Macro has the numbers 100. Babu 100. 10. He's a macro influencer because he has more numbers. He's a micro because he has less numbers, but conversion rate was 7 over 10 or 10 over 100. So that's one of the things whereby clients also have a difficulty understanding those, because you can have numbers, less conversion rate. You can have less numbers, high conversion rate. So you find that you as a company, what do you
conversion rate, you're talking sales.
Exactly.
Which is the most important reason for being in business, sales.
But then some clients don't want sales. They want like information dissemination. So it all depends on what the client wants.
But some want engagement.
Yes, some clients want information. So they'll go with the one 100 because more people. Some will say they'll go with one with the 10 because of conversion rate. So that's the primary difference. Or macro is larger numbers but maybe less conversion. Micro is less numbers, high conversion. So some clients have difficulty in understanding because most people nowadays want a number.
What sort of numbers typically are people looking for?
There's no particular like a specific number about 10,000, but most people in the country but I want that number because I'll give you an example. They keep picture to a client, keep picture I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, but hey, you don't have 100,000 followers. You 100,000 followers. The question I asked them, and most they don't have an answer for that. Because when they just look at the numbers, here's the thing, Mr. Mogobe. If you have 100 people, are you going to talk to them individually as opposed to on antenna? Because there are few. I get there's more.
Yeah, it's easier.
It's more personalized. 100 how we talk before like only about 10. But if you have 10, maybe 7 of them.
You won't even determine whether they are decision makers or not.
Remember so that's why it's one of those things whereby I try to educate them. Okay, what primarily do you want?
Okay, so when in your business, you help both categories.
Yes, but I like to say what I help anyone who understands what I'm doing for them, because it's still with less people, because you know how social media works. I would have someone with small number, but then I'm following would share my post, they would share to the network. So it's like it's a value chain, you know. Yeah. Because for example, if Mutabata has someone like say, let's say maybe real estate, I might have less followers, but my followers about real estate who follow. I get. So if you call like real estate, when I share it because it's your field, or share it to your followers. So I might not be a real estate person, but my followers are but real estate, and I share it to the networks. So it's about also trying to give the client because most times clients have a talohan. So what is on A B C D. That's why also when I engage clients, I put together a proposal. I can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Then from there it's okay. Specifically, I would do 1, 2, 3, 4. It's about education. It's about because most of the time, but engage because but if they understand what you're doing, they would engage you because now they understand the dynamics of what you're doing.
Do you then thereafter charge based on conversion rates or results or outcomes?
Yes, most of the time. When I charge a client, I charge on a monthly basis. Okay, after a month, I'll give you a report because I'm one person who I believe in paperwork or paper trail. So I do a report after the month. You had X amount of engagement. You had X amount of coverage on papers. You had one radio interview. Next month, 1, 2, 3, 4. So how we let client have accountability. It is authentic. Because most of the time you find that why did I pay you? So if you engage me, because I can remember this month we had 5 articles about your book. Push. Then learn how do it. How feel there's
value.
There's value. So value proposition. So if I'm documenting and saying reporting here, report we had X amount of followers from 1 follower to 6 followers. Next month interview more TV. Go you find that or how more to update. So one of the things which I do is to keep my clients updated.
Yeah. Okay, let me pivot a little bit to the issue of scamming.
Yeah.
There's a lot of scammers on Facebook, people who impersonate other people.
Yeah.
I've the last 4 years I've had people claiming to be me and taking people's money. Number one. Number two, I've had situations where I've people from Bangladesh or from Pakistan,
Kenya,
wanting to take over my page, promising to pay me in US dollars, and people have lost their pages because of that. Can you speak to this whole area and explain if there are any ground rules and how people can protect themselves?
You know what I usually say, if it's too good to be true, it's not true most of the time. Because more thing, you can earn $100 every day. You can do this. Or you have to look at these things. Who would just give you money just you know. So if it's too good to be true, it's not true most of the time.
It's a
So
scam.
it's a scam. And also, you know, this thing of just clicking on the link just because there's money attached to it.
That can cost you a
It
lot.
can cost a lot. What they win 100 pula. Most will enter competition. How do you win enter competition? How does someone say win Madiko go this company most enter competition? I think I don't say rank. So right now, Oscar Baho Harata Madiko pay. People like money, yes, but if they dangle it around you, or you know. And also, I think what the page holders are the pages more or less like account. It's more or less like passwords, because some passwords are not.
Actually,
really,
they will tell you what they want to put in the adverts so they can pay you.
Yeah, that's the problem. So we find that your research, because you know, reading a lot, because it can happen to anybody. I'm not saying I'm not prone to that. It can happen to anybody, but it just has to be cybersecurity rules. Can learn how you put out I'm sending you my password to your phone number. These kind of things. These guys, they think you just stand one person or how any sort of educational background, because how am I able to they take it for granted? I will give you $100. Click on this link. WhatsApp group.
And there's another one of saying, I'm from Facebook and you're about to lose your page. Go to this link and click here and click there.
The robot, whatever. Yeah, so you don't.
And when you click, your page is gone.
It's gone. So I'll just say people should not click on links which they suspect might be a scam.
Oh, they should not click to links.
To links
period.
At all. Okay, no, they should click to links. Some who be nuggets of wisdom. That's what they should click.
Yeah, of course.
But link win this much. They shouldn't click to that, because I mean it's one of those things. And also security features. Even the pages you visit. Some people visit some pages which have cookies on their phones. Kind of cookies like data. When you go on social media, data is sent to various avenues. So you find that when you visit some other pages, data is because the email address, phone number, all your details. Then they get your information from there. So you find that just be aware.
Avoid cookies.
Yeah, avoid cookies.
But a lot of magazines and whatnot, they use cookies.
That's why it's important for after browsing on your phone, make sure that you clear your browser history, or you clear the cache memory, or you clear the cookies, because that way at least they will scam. I just advise people to do that. Just make sure after you browse your history, clear your browser history, clear your cookies, clear your cache, and just use social media in how do I put it? In a clever manner. I mean, there's no other way to put it. Use it to read, educate yourself, know more about entrepreneurs like yourself, know about what Henny does, know about what current affairs, because you find that most of the people on social media, how much current affairs? Blank. I mean, I the whole day on social media. So now I'm lying.
There were a scandal exactly. Overseas, and they're getting titillated.
Exactly. How about current affairs? What's happening? Which kind of schemes? What is happening in Parliament? What is happening on the newspapers? What is happening in your landscape? What is happening in your surroundings? Who can I reach out to for entrepreneur? Who can I reach out for inspiration? Those kind of things that can develop you better as an individual.
Yeah. All right. Are there any? You just triggered the idea of knowing manane wa hormente in the context of the mindset change and this thing of engaging the youth. What is happening in your space to help the youth and to engage them? I mean, there's of course chama and things like that. Can you elaborate a little bit on that area?
I think at the moment I would say that government is trying to involve the youth in many aspects, and when I now it's more of entertainment landscape. Like you find that the upcoming entertainers who are now being engaged in different aspects, like your events. So this weekend is going to be busy. Weekend there are many events.
Forbes 30 under 30 is
exactly.
Coming.
There's Forbes, there's Kawa, there's whatever. So you find that there's many youths engaged in Kawa, like for entertainment sections, event, transportation, all those kind of things. Then the Forbes and you find that a lot of lodges, banana, maybe the transportation hub, the tourism sector. So there are many events which are geared towards trying to use entrepreneurs. But then again, it's also one of those things, because this is a very tricky year in terms of the country, because it's an election year. So I find that you have to also be aware some of these things are used to campaign purposes, because the majority people who are going to vote. So it's one of those things where it has to carry on beyond this year.
Yeah. It has to be long term.
Yeah.
And any thoughts on Chama Chama?
Well, Chama Chama, it's a good. I think it's a good initiative, but then the thing is, it's still the same kind of roving around money. It's being administered by the same company. Like Ghana, it's a SEDA initiative. It's a lay initiative. SEDA has already had loans in the past, so just another sub funding mechanism from a already existing platform.
But is it something you encourage the youth to go for?
Yeah, they should go for, but they should know that Ghana, there's no such thing as a free lunch. So ultimately, they're gonna have to pay back the money one way or the other. So they shouldn't just jump to the thing.
It's not a grant; it's a loan.
Yeah, it's a grant. It's not a loan. I mean, you have to pay it back. It's 2.4%. Okay, it's the cheapest interest rate in the country. It's 2.4% over 12 months or 6 months. So you find that it's cheap, yes, to get the money, but
yeah, very much so. Now, one thing we spoke about when we were prepping for this is the importance of grounding, keeping yourself grounded. A, why is that important? B, how do you do it yourself?
Can I keep yourself grounded is being humble, man. Because I mean, even though you are good at something, kinda young, you shouldn't blow your own horn. You know, let other people blow the horn for you.
But I thought the whole point of social media is to blow your horn.
No.
Marketing
the thing
and branding.
Is that the way life is, you know, you're only relevant for a particular period. You can make it, and then you can break it. And media is a very it's one of the key contributors of that. Media either makes you or breaks you. Otobolo good today, all the best about their colleagues. Come on, so when you fall, who's the one talking about you now? The same people who are praising you. So people praise you, then they shame you. So if you praise yourself high, exactly the way you put yourself at that point. So just have to be humble, because how not humble, you know what? At some point you're going to be at your low point, you're going to be at your high point. But if you are grounded, but is still the same person, whether he's up or high. Because most people, when they go up the ladder, so being grounded is like is be level-headed. But just remain humble, you know. I mean, you are a very humble individual, Remogobe. I mean, I met you a couple of times, and you're always greeting how we pay for you at the frontier and real estate, kind of frontier real estate companies, whatever, you know. You try and accommodate everyone in their own spaces, and that shows humbleness, because not looking at hore but a guy kana baira and that's something which is, I would say, is remain humble.
Yeah. And then how do you stay grounded?
Grounded is you know,
by yourself, specifically.
Not myself. I it's one thing about knowing who I am, and knowing that one day I would be no more. So that's creating a legacy for myself. And one day I'll be down, or one day I'll be up. But when I'm up or down, I should always be the same person I am. Like you wanna get it down. I cannot the same person I am. No, I still talk to you and say hi. Then it kills you, because you don't get emotional intelligence. The same way. So level-headed, regardless of the situation you are put in. You know, people have had us, people have sabotaged us, but we don't say those kind of things, you know. No, we don't do that. You know, that's being grounded, because you appreciate what so when I just become, they say, don't treat someone the way they treat you, but treat them how you want them to treat you. When I just be yourself, and you know, God is watching over that.
Yeah. This program is used largely by entrepreneurs. So which platform, social media platform, do you think is ideal for entrepreneurs or for business people?
Yeah, you know.
And can you describe the different ones and why they're ideal?
Yes, I would say, let me just give an example. Facebook is mostly for people who limelight, they want likes and shares. That's primarily Facebook. Instagram is more corporate. You know, Instagram, it's more or less like corporate as opposed to your Facebook.
Although there's a lot of glamour and glitz. Those pictures.
Yes, exactly. And then your Twitter, which is now your X, is more or less like more engaging. Maybe they either bash you, you have to have a quick reaction and all that. Then LinkedIn is more professional. LinkedIn, you can get the corporates, your HR managers, your CEOs. LinkedIn is more corporate profile. So you find that if you're a client or kind of young, you find that you have to know which platform, what kind of people you want. For example, if you are doing an event, Facebook, because that's where the messes are. But Facebook in terms of number 1, then Instagram number 2, Twitter number 3. For your platform, which is more entrepreneurial platform, Facebook is fine because it has the reach. But then it's about who follows your page, and then also you can sponsor posts to your Instagram and all that. But you find that you would also work more or less on LinkedIn because the entrepreneurs are found on LinkedIn and all that. So you find that, but the key aspect of the captioning or the messaging, it also directs you to your kind of audience. For example, I look at events about to post hey, but you can't post that for Nuggets of Wisdom. You will rather say, today I had this entrepreneurial guest on Nuggets of Wisdom, talked about 1, 2, 3, 4. This is journey. Could you try and make it more or less like professional? So you find that it all depends on who you are targeting. So your platform, like you rightly said, it's more of your LinkedIn platform, more of your Instagram platform, and also you also want to limit people who comment, because how about the paro per se on your platform? You want people who are focused and directed. Yeah.
And then yes, but still you haven't really narrowed it down for business people.
That's what I said. Business people, you go to
it's Instagram and LinkedIn mainly.
Yes.
Okay. The one that seems to give me a headache all the time is X.
Twitter, yes.
Formerly Twitter.
Yes.
I can't relate to it. I don't understand it.
They've made it in such a way that it's more like it's like how say more Twitter, they won't engage with you because of how particular cycle. They have their own clicks. So it's more or less like how some more clicking when they won't engage with you no matter what kind of content you put out.
Yeah.
But because of the way social media is, you just put out, because I'll tell you one thing. How post your Nuggets of Wisdom, it's not like, it's not share. People see, because once you post on social media, regardless of whether they're sharing it or they're liking it, people still see. Because you find that people can talk to you about your Nuggets of Wisdom. Me also want to comment, can also want to like. But they'll tell you, hey, comment, like, share.
Sometimes they don't even subscribe.
But how I loved it.
Yeah.
Because once on social media, it's there for a long term. So that's why I tell some clients who don't care about the likes or shares. Serious people will inbox you. Serious people will call you. Serious people will come to your office and say, Mogobe, can I post like a real estate company? Business, can I post like a space plus because those are serious people.
Yeah.
Serious people don't comment, they don't like, they don't do whatever, but they see. Exactly.
Oh, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And then you yourself are most active in which one, or in all of them?
I would say what I do a lot of cross posting and I'm on all the platforms because people have different, I have different markets and different followership, but more can I get client, Facebook business, business. So one thing I've realized because wisdom potential, so never underestimate anybody. Yeah.
Let's talk about events.
Yes.
That's another area where you are active.
Yeah.
What events mainly, and how should we approach this particular subject?
I've worked with events in terms of your festivals. I've worked with most big festivals in the country. I've also worked with a lot of events, Sabu healing, Kanasabu mental awareness, what they build, because I believe in building an individual. How to event for example, let's talk about the environment. When you're from there, we learned a couple of things about you in terms of property management, city management. Mental awareness. We learned a lot about how do you heal with the situation, how do you deal with the situation you're going through. Some events you find that they're just mainly your branches. Like for example, Mother's Day is coming up. Is it next week or so? So
could be.
Yeah. So there's some Mother's Day events which I'm working on as well in terms of trying to empower women. There's empowerment workshops. So I deal with a variety of events as long as I feel that they are beneficial to you. That's one, and also that if they are something which I would want to affiliate with, because I'm gonna it's about affiliation. I want to affiliate with an event maybe it's controversial. So you want to affiliate with events which are proactive, which are developmental, and which are encouraging people. Yeah. And I try to stay away from politics because I try to stay away from politics a lot.
Why?
Because politics is something which people label you or support this party, can support this party.
It excludes a lot of people.
And then label okay, party, then it you know it's a feeling. It's sort of like religion. You don't want to really step on anybody's toes religion because people have different religions. But ultimately,
if you want to avoid a controversy,
avoid religion, avoid politics. So I've had a lot of people who are in the politics space trying to say, no, do this for me. But I'm like, hey, I don't do politics, and unfortunately,
even if it's a one-off promotion,
I don't do that because let me tell you,
even in an election year,
I don't do politics. I don't do anything politically affiliated because they will label you and they'll categorize you as a particular supporter or not supporter of a particular party.
yeah. That's not to say politics are not important because they are the central part.
They're
the
fine.
backbone of our political system.
Yeah, politics is more or less engagement and talking, but yeah, it's just a no-go area for me.
Yeah. Now, I want us to look forward in terms of your projections going to the future. What are the long-term plans for you as a brand, and how do you position yourself even a decade or two down the line?
Yeah, I think ultimately I want to be, I would say, a media mogul, you know. I'm the person who changed the landscape of social media marketing because actually I was one of the first people to do social media marketing, you know, if you go track record. Because I've even appeared on platforms such as your Africa Tweets chats, your We Talk Business. These were platforms on X or Twitter back then, which were trying to say, how's the landscape in your country like? What do you do as a living? Why this profession and all that, you know? So I think my track record spans in terms of where I started to now. You see, I don't only start now. I'm not only on your nuggets of wisdom today because I have a track record which backs that up. So in terms of trying to build, start small and go somewhere. It's like when you buy a cow. Toyota pele kana Ranex yana waraka Mafit, then from there waraka BM or Range Rover. Range Rover, then from there waraka Corolla because it's now digressing. You rather start from the ground up, building up.
I know what you mean.
So build it from the ground up. You know, many people nowadays will say, hey, but you still have low followers. You're still not making the right moves. But the thing is, the long-term vision, ultimately, 5 years back, I won't be where I am now. So it's a matter of just trying to know, ultimately, go look at so it's keeping focused, keep your eyes on the ball. You know, the long term is so it's just trying to build baby steps. Like I said, I'd rather build authentically, and I'd rather build builder at my own pace rather than speeding and then so I got speed. So just pacing myself to ultimately.
But what is the goal? In other words, what can we foresee in a decade or two? Are there any tangible?
Yeah, there are tangible results. In a decade or two, I would want to be a media mogul who has also groomed people who are in the industry. Henny Maruapula, we are 1, 2, 3, 4. Make an grumile batho industry or hire labor to banana or contribute to society like this. Because one of the things also I want to also give back ultimately. Go to giving back passing my skills, knowledge transfer. These things as Henny, so you can avoid these mistakes which I did as a social media marketer. Perfect the skills because I've done 1, 2, 3, 4. So knowledge transfer and also trying to educate this is the road I traveled, but you can use it to your own specification. So ultimately it's about someone who contributed to the country through your book reviews that's reading, contributed to the media scape in terms of your articles contribution, your social media marketing, the track record because of his expertise.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you were to shamelessly plug yourself and share some of your accolades, what would you say are your achievements or your biggest shall I just say your triumphs and successes? Yeah,
I would say one of them. I once did a marketing proposal for one of the universities in Mogobe. It transformed from a university college to now a full university. So that's one aspect because that shows.
I know of two such. Boto and
Baisa. Yeah, I was one of the people who contributed to the Baisa being a university because from a university college to university. That's one. And then also previously
by preparing what proposal?
Yeah, proposal and trying to say now you graduate because of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how you can do it and all that. So the groundwork and all that.
Were you part of a committee or
not committee? Just like a proposal proposal or as a consultant per se.
Yeah.
Yes. And then also previously, I don't know, it's now Business Botswana. It was previously Bokim.
Yes.
If you remember. Yes, I used to do annual reports for them. So annual report kana ke gore ngwahola relaying or whatever. So I used to compile or I used to do annual report for Bokim. So those are the two major achievements that I would say I did, because annual report it covers a lot of things. You design the layout and all that. Yeah. So that's what I do. And also I would say I was also one of the first people like to be featured from Botswana, to be featured on Africa Twitter chats and We Talk Biz. Those are platforms about Kenya,
which ones are those?
There's on Twitter. It was a platform in the We Talk Business. It's a platform in it's based in Kenya. It talks about business entrepreneurs. I was one of the first people from Botswana to talk about that. It's an engaging platform on Twitter.
Yes.
Le Africa Tweet chats, whereby they interview people who are doing good in that country. So those kind of things.
Were you the one interviewing them?
No, they were interviewing me and trying to find out.
I see.
In a conversation.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. So I'd say I have been in the media space. I also another thing which maybe you don't know. I used to also do gig guides in the papers. Like I would have a column this month, this weekend, 1, 2, 3, 4. I had 2 columns in these papers. Mother Voice where I had gig guide by Henny Maruapula. So the gig guide, what's happening in the event industry for that particular period. It ran for like 2 years. Yeah. So those are some of the achievements which I would say I had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, you answered me well. Now I want to just ask you a last bit of general advice as to how to handle controversy.
Yeah.
If something has been written about you on social media, as a brand or even as a person of influence, how should you respond?
Well, there's no correct way of responding, but one way of responding is to issue a press release. That's one. Some people they like press releases, but even though some write lengthy ones and whatever, kana press release be khela gore ra utlwa gore la ngware ga ka se ka bo kete tla bankanya. Thank you. That's one. Or small go baka kana wa take recourse. Ise gore nya kana we are the leading company. See defend how about the take. So some they was choose to defend us. We are the leading company. Just address the situation. We are aware of the situation. We are rectifying it. We thank you for your support. That's one way of doing it. Kana just keep quiet, because kana when you speak, there are more loopholes.
You're adding fuel.
Happy loophole there, because how bua motho ba Picasso and motho ba gana okay Mogobe buka kie wana bo sona nya kana buka ke ko le ko maraka ha mangore there are loopholes which are now gonna come out from what you are saying. So it's either you keep quiet or on a generic press release and no, we are aware of 1, 2, 3, 4 ra bankanya, we thank you, and that's it. Then you don't have to respond. Happy one thing, don't respond to everything that is being said on social media, because kana go tla bo posta sengwe ba batla comment about 100 bo comment or reply comment ngwe le ngwe. You don't have to reply. It's exhausting. Don't rather just keep quiet. Don't reply the comment. So I'm not bua sengwe ka wena kana ka your brand. You either keep quiet or you just write a nice statement or bo bankanya situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, this is the time of the show when you can hit me with a question. Do you have a question?
Hey, it's very, I don't know how to put it. I'm very thankful for being here, because I followed you for a long time, and I've been one person who I was tenacious to try and also get your attention, because we've
met a few times, and it just this moment could not come.
Yeah, exactly.
But it has today.
Yes. No, so I think one of the things I would just like to ask you is how do you manage to navigate a variety of businesses? For example, you have a restaurant, you have a real estate company, you have your nuggets of wisdom, you are a brand on your own, you're a speaker, you're a motivational speaker, you're an author. So how do you traverse all these broad spectrum of companies?
Yeah, once you've identified your purpose, and you know what you're supposed to do in this world, then there's a certain sense in which you become limitless. Especially if you are willing to work with others. If you notice the way we do things, and you'll read it in the book, is that we work with managers, we delegate a lot. So my job is to give people and to empower them. My 4 pillars, which is to enthuse, to energize, to inspire, and to empower. So my attitude is that I have to do that in a variety of ways, and one of them is to delegate. For instance, for the longest time, I didn't even pay myself a salary because I believed in reinvesting into the business or into businesses. To some extent, I still do that a lot. So I think the key thing is to delegate and to work within your purpose and your overall goal. So as long as I'm traversing industries, because I call myself a serial entrepreneur,
yes.
within my overall pillars or guideposts, then I'll be all right.
Yeah.
And you know, the idea is not to be intimidated by the variety of challenges you have, but to know that you are surrounding yourself with people who are much more talented and skilled than you. I know nothing about podcasting in terms of setting things up and how cameras work.
Yeah.
I know nothing about cooking when it comes to restaurants.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm a good lawyer. That one I can handle, and I'm able to speak. Some of those things I can handle. But all the other ancillary work around me, I work with people through empowering them, through sharing with them. That's really the simple answer to the question.
Yeah, and that's just sums it up in terms of its wisdom. I mean, I took that from you because you're one of the people who I personally look up to and say, or one day I would like to see myself, being like Lerumo, because it's like a blueprint for success, or a blueprint for business running.
You're very kind.
So it's it's a very good answer, and
yes.
thank you for
and
sharing.
Thank you also for buying my book.
No, most definitely.
We
Yes,
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now you want to leave the viewer there through that camera with one final, sort of summary message, as it were.
Yeah, I think I'd just like to say, in life, just be tenacious. Just keep on pushing, because ultimately you keep on knocking on one door, it closes, the other door is gonna open ultimately, because and never underestimate anybody. I mean, you may be at your lowest today, but come also you be at your highest, and someone who's at the highest will be at the lowest tomorrow. So, when tables turn, you just know that remain grounded, and just know what you're on this earth to do, and just keep on pushing your passion, because passion ultimately pays off. And be grounded and just know your worth. Yeah.
Great stuff. Now, why don't you give them all your contacts, both on social media and out of social media?
Yeah, on Facebook, it's Henny Maruapula. On Instagram, it's Henny Maruapula. On Twitter, which is X, it's Henny Maps. LinkedIn, Henny Maruapula. I'm always available on all those platforms, and also I'm just a WhatsApp away. My number is +267 74 69 7216. It's important to say +267 because we have international
viewers as well.
Viewers, and also guests from, what do you call this thing?
It's also available on WhatsApp.
On WhatsApp, I'm always available, because, and also I make sure that I respond to inquiries, because you find that you can miss a deal because I respond in time. Yeah. So timely response, and just trying to be responsible.
All right.
Yeah.
Just before I thank my guest, a wonderful guest, let me remind you to strike that subscribe button or the notification bell if you haven't done so already. We need it very much. Let me also remind you that there's a book we are selling, $3.99. You only need to reach out to us on 397-1368. The book is available for you to acquire. And of course, we encourage you to tell others about Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast as we traverse our year number 5. Thank you so much for taking the time out, and thank you so much, viewer and listener. Bye-bye. You did a great job.
Thank you. Wonderful.